Welcome back to the College Football Show. I got joined again by Wulfy. After a break last week, glad to be back. Excited to be back. Last week kind of sucked. Did you have any midterms last week?
Yeah, I had 3. It was brutal.
Yeah,
it was not
It
fun.
was a busy week for both of us, so much better to be here with you guys doing this College Football Show. So we'll get into Week 7. Week 7 should be a pretty good one. A lot of big matchups this week, and we'll get right into it. Starting off Friday night, got Clemson at Syracuse. Clemson's 13.5-point favorites. The over-under is 44.5. I'll let you start, Wulfy.
I just have Q's straight up. Clemson hasn't looked really good all season. Syracuse has looked good throughout this year. They've had a couple big wins. And I think they're actually one of the better teams in the ACC right now, which is kind of weird to say because Syracuse has just been so historically bad. But I don't know, the 13.5 spread, I like that a lot. That really opened my eyes. But I don't know, what do you think?
So the last Friday night game Syracuse played at home was against Liberty, where they ended up winning straight up. I think Liberty was 8.5-point favorites going in that game.
Mm-hmm.
Clemson has a really good secondary. They play pretty good defense. So does Clemson. So I really like the under. Under's my favorite pick for this game. But I'm also going to be playing Syracuse plus 13.5. I think they keep it close. Clemson just doesn't have the offense this year to blow past anyone, especially with Syracuse's good secondary.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they keep it close enough to stay within that spread. I don't think they're going to be upsetting the money line, personally, but hey, crazier things have happened for sure. Moving on to Auburn at Arkansas. Arkansas's 4.5-point favorites, over under 54. Coming off last week, that Arkansas-Ole Miss game, that was one of the best college football games I've ever seen.
Oh my gosh!
Back and forth the entire time.
Amazing.
The decision by Sam Pittman.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it didn't end up working out for him.
But
I support it.
Yeah.
100% support it. They were able to stop Ole Miss all day, so it's like.
Should have taken the over on that there too.
Yeah,
103.
I actually saw one of the guys I follow that does sports betting big picks too. One of his big plays that week was the under in that game.
Really?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
tough luck. But in terms of this game, I like Arkansas a lot. Especially they've lost the last 2 weeks now.
Mm-hmm.
I expect them to bounce back and regain that early season form and cover 4.5 against Auburn. I've never been sold on Auburn this year.
Mm-hmm.
They got blown out last week by Georgia. Obviously, Georgia's the best team in the country right now, but I don't think Auburn's very good. And I think Arkansas is better than they played the last 2 weeks. So I think they take care of business at home.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Auburn's best win this year is probably their loss to Penn State.
That was their best game they played.
And I don't even know if, Penn State, down the line, I think they're going to start dropping in the top 25 rankings here pretty soon if Clifford doesn't come back here soon.
Yeah, their backup was terrible last week.
They were up by 17, and I think they blew a 17-point lead or something like that.
Yeah, they're up 17-0 at one point.
Yeah, but anyways, just back to Arkansas. Arkansas has just looked really, really, really good this year. They've done everything right. Even that game was so amazing to watch.
A lot of good games last week.
That was honestly I know Bama lost, but I think that was probably just the best game straight up.
That or the Red River.
The Red River, yeah, when Caleb Williams came in. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I'm taking Arkansas. I don't think Auburn's that good. I feel like Auburn's actually kind of lower tier SEC.
I think it was 3 weeks ago. They almost lost to Georgia State at home.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah,
that's the biggest thing that's just sticking in my head. And I know Georgia State's really, really, really bad. But besides that, I like Arkansas a lot.
Moving on to Big 12 showdown. Undefeated Oklahoma State at Texas. Texas is 5-point favorites. Over-under is 60. So this is kind of a prove-it game for Oklahoma State.
Mm-hmm.
This is their first really big test of the year. Obviously, Texas coming off Red River Showdown. They blew that huge lead that they had.
Yeah.
So it's kind of for me, I don't know if they're going to be in like the mental state to like come back. It's such an emotional game in that rivalry. They put it all on the line in the first half, and they got beaten up in the second. So how do they bounce back from that? I don't think they're going to cover. I think they might actually squeak out like a 3-point win at the very end or something.
Yeah, I love it. The 6-point spread is really, really, really nice to have.
So I like Oklahoma State to cover. I actually think they are for real. I've watched them the last 2 weeks. Their defense is really good, which is what I like about them a lot. So yeah, I think Cowboys +5.
I mean, Oklahoma State has we watch a lot of Big 12 football. I mean, they've looked really, really good these past couple of years. They've just had a bad loss here and there to Iowa State, obviously, or Oklahoma. And I don't know. Texas looked really, really good in the first half, but they looked really, really, really bad in the second half.
Defense just can't stop anybody. So
oh my gosh, no.
It's whether or not their offense can keep pace with how bad their defense is.
Well, I just feel I feel like this is more a game for Oklahoma finding themselves. I took Oklahoma later on, but I feel like this is just going to be a good turning point for Oklahoma and finding Caleb Williams. And I feel like this is Texas has had a pretty good season, but they've shown signs of weaknesses. So, and even at a 6-point spread too, I really like Oklahoma State too. I think they're legit as well.
For sure. Moving on to the Big Ten matchup, we got Michigan State traveling to Indiana. Michigan State's 4.5-point favorites. The over/under is 48.5. So Michigan State comes to this game. They've been kind of steamrolling teams. Their running back Kenneth Murray, something like that. Kenneth Walker. He's just been running over. I saw him in the Heisman watch.
Really?
Yeah, they're playing very well. Indiana, obviously, after coming out last year and surprising everyone, has kind of fallen back to where Indiana usually is.
Isn't Michigan State undefeated too?
Michigan State is undefeated. Yeah, they haven't played great competition yet,
and that's why that's what's holding them back in the
right.
rankings.
And that's why they're only 10. But I do like Michigan State 4.5. This definitely seems like a trap line. I would say 4.5 on the road. Indiana is supposed to be good, but they're not. It's kind of one of those games where I don't know. We'll see how bad Indiana is, and we'll see if Michigan State's legit in this game, I think.
Right.
So I will side with Michigan State. I think the only thing that gives them an advantage is all these teams that play their style, kind of get up and down emotionally. It kind of looks like they're staying level-headed the whole time. They consistently are playing at the same level. There's no super ups and super downs, so I think their consistency will keep them afloat, and they'll probably hold on to beat Indiana.
Michigan State really just has come out of nowhere this year too, and I feel like
both Michigan teams this year kind of just
turned
around after a really tough year last year.
Well, I think Michigan State was showing signs of weakness even before that. Honestly, Michigan just had one bad year last year with Harbaugh.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people overreacted, but Michigan State was on going it looked like there was
yeah, they're on a downward spiral for sure.
Yeah, and then hired a new coach. I love Michigan State in this game. They've been blown by everybody in the Big Ten that they've played so far. And I don't like Indiana, so
yeah, for sure. Moving on to a big non-conference game, we got BYU traveling to Baylor. Baylor is 6.5-point favorites. Over/under is 50.5. So BYU, they were top 10 team last week, and they played Boise State, who's had a down year for Boise State team that's usually pretty competitive. So that's a bad loss. No way around it. It's just a bad loss. Baylor comes in after losing to Oklahoma State, I think. And
what was the score of that game? Do you remember? It was 28-24 or something.
But yeah, I don't know what side to like here. Both sides I feel like are
good teams. I feel like Baylor wasn't supposed to be good this year. BYU was supposed to be good this year, but BYU did also lose their starting quarterback with Zach Wilson. So I wasn't super sold on BYU this year, but I wasn't sold on Baylor this year as well because they weren't supposed to be good at all. I'm almost tempted to take BYU in this pick because I do like the 6-point spread. But I feel like I'm just going to play it safe and take and take Baylor just because I mean, we were talking about it earlier. That Boise State loss. I mean, I don't think Boise State's horrible. I know the record would say otherwise, but if you're BYU and you're supposed to be a top 10 team and you lose a game, you can't lose to Boise State. So I don't know. I mean, I feel like I'm just going to take Baylor here. I feel like you're kind of feeling the same way.
Yeah, I'm feeling the same way. Oklahoma State beat Baylor 2 weeks ago, actually, 24-14. So
Okay.
It was at Oklahoma State, however, so, I mean, like we just talked about the Oklahoma State game, we both kind of like Oklahoma State, I think. Mike Gundy always has a good team there. They always play the Big 12 really tough, so it's not a terrible loss by any means, especially at Oklahoma State. Yeah, BYU, I was never really sold on them either throughout the year. I don't love either side here.
Right.
And for me, I'm going to base a lot of like what I do in the future on both of these teams on this game. So I think my play is just going to be the under at 50.5. I think BYU is a good defense. Baylor's got a pretty good defense for the Big 12.
I think it's going to be a really fun game to watch.
Yeah, no, I like the under 50.5, and then we'll see who comes out on top, and from there, know a lot about both these teams. Moving on, Kentucky at Georgia. Georgia's 23-point favorites. Over/under is 44.5. So this is crazy, like absolutely crazy. Kentucky's undefeated. They're a top 15 team, and Georgia's 23-point favorites. And the over/under is 44.5. So they're basically expecting Georgia to just like shut out Kentucky, which I mean they definitely could. It's Georgia, but that's just a crazy. You don't see those lines, especially when it's a top 25 matchup. It's nuts, and that's why I love Georgia minus 23 because it is nuts. I think their defense is just so good. It's the best defense I've seen in the college football for a while. They stop everybody. So I'm not sold on Kentucky either. I think they've gotten some favorable matchups in the first 6 weeks. They've taken care of business, but they haven't beat anyone of note. And I think Georgia's going to steamroll them, honestly, at home. This is going to be the wake-up game for Kentucky and realize that they're not that team.
It's so tough because, I just think of this Kentucky team and I think, they lost to Tennessee last year. And Tennessee was really bad last year. And I know COVID, probably played a factor in, some teams' performances. But I was pretty certain Tennessee was bad last year, and I was pretty emphatic about it. And I don't know, but I just looked up their schedule here, and they destroyed Louisiana Monroe. They beat Mizzou by a touchdown. They beat Chattanooga by 5 points. They beat South Carolina by 6. South Carolina is not good.
One of the worst.
They're not good. But then they beat Florida, by 7. And I like Dan Mullins, but the whole quarterback controversy, neither of the quarterbacks and he even said it. So and then this, they did really give it to LSU. They did really give it to LSU this past week. I don't know. I mean, this isn't a game I personally am going to be betting on this weekend, but I'll take Kentucky just strictly because
it's a lot of points.
It's a lot of points, and I know how good Georgia is, but it really feels like Georgia's going to win the college football playoffs and the national championship. Yeah, so I'm just gonna. It's strictly just a cover.
No, I totally get that angle. I'm saying a 42-10 game. That's what I'm expecting. Kentucky might score a touchdown.
Yeah.
And I think Georgia's going to put up at least 35 points.
Well, and the whole thing about Kentucky is their defense is supposed to be so good. They
right.
The most points they've let up this year is 28 points against Missouri.
Missouri's not very good, though.
Yeah, but giving up 21 points to LSU. LSU has been up and down. Only giving up 13 points to Florida. I mean, it's going to be a fun game. If it's close, it would be really, really, really cool to see Kentucky knock them off. Because then does Kentucky just go straight up to number 1 at that point?
That's a good question. I mean, they beat the best team in college football at their place.
Right.
That would definitely I don't think you can argue anyone else.
I don't know. Maybe Cincy.
Maybe Iowa. Iowa's beating some good teams this year. I don't know. So we'll take this and transition to our next game. Purdue at Iowa. Iowa's 11.5-point favorites, over under 43. This is kind of the same thing. It's a high spread with a low over under, meaning they think Iowa's just going to shut down Purdue and score a lot of points.
Mm-hmm.
I would have taken this spread all the way up to 15.5, 16.5.
Mm-hmm.
I think Purdue's awful. And
probably the worst team
so
in the Big Ten.
In on Iowa this year. Like, they're awesome. Like, every game I watch them, their defense is smothering, especially the teams that don't have the offensive line to stop. Because they don't, all they do is rush forward, but against almost every team in the country, their front four gets there.
Mm-hmm.
And then their secondary is just so good that they force all these turnovers. They forced so many turnovers this year just because their defense causes so much pressure and their secondary swarms the ball. Their offense isn't great, but I think they can run all over Purdue with Purdue's bad defense. And 11.5 just isn't enough for me to not like it. And so I love Iowa. Lock. That's the lock. Go Hawks.
I was really high on Iowa before this past week. They did not look like the number 3 team in the nation that first half against Penn State, and I know they shut out the backup quarterback in the second half. But you could see later, like I hate to go back to the whole backup quarterback thing, but you could see later down the line, Penn State losing 3 or 4 games after losing Clifford. But I'm gonna take Iowa too. Like, I want to hate them so bad. They're dogs.
Yeah.
They got some dogs.
I do think they're gonna lose a game this year before Big Ten championship, but it's not gonna be this one.
Yeah, I could see them losing to like Wisconsin or something.
They've had a game at Wisconsin and a game at Nebraska. I'm looking at those two probably as being upset spots. Probably honestly as much like Nebraska. The last game of the season.
Wisconsin, Minnesota too. At Minnesota. Like, I know Minnesota, like, they've been all right this year, but you got to remember they almost, like, if they don't lose their running back against Ohio State, chances are that's a 1-possession game.
Ohio State has become a different team though.
So it has. CJ Stroud.
He's gotten better.
Yeah.
They're running the ball better. The defense has gotten better.
I could see Iowa losing to actually Ohio State in the Big Ten championship.
I think that's pretty likely what will happen. It just depends. I don't know. We'll see. That's a while away. Moving on to our game, Iowa State is at Kansas State. Iowa State's 6.5-point favorites. Over under is 50.5, and I love Kansas State so much. Plus 6.5. I mean, even so. Give context. I've watched Iowa State football since I was a kid. I've never seen us like go in and just dominate Kansas State. It's not going to happen. It just isn't. The Kansas State at home plays everyone in the Big 12 tough. I hope Iowa State wins this game, but realistically, if I wasn't biased towards Iowa State, I would be playing Kansas State money line super heavily this week. So I'm not going to do that because obviously I can't pick against Iowa State money line, but I will take Kansas State with the points, and I will take the under 50.5. Kansas State playing the backup quarterback. Iowa State's defense, one of the best, if not the best in the Big 12. I think Kansas State's defense is also very good. They shut down Oklahoma. They shut down like almost every team they played. Mm-hmm. So I like the under a lot. I also like Kansas State to cover 6.5. I hope Iowa State squeaks out a 3-4 point win. But winning any more, if they win by more than 7, I'm back in on the Cyclones 100%. So I hope I'm wrong on that pick, but I don't think I am. What do you think about this game?
I originally had taken Iowa State, but as soon as you said I'm taking Kansas State, my opinion just immediately changed.
Kansas State,
they're good.
Manhattan is such a tough place to play.
They're good.
Even the years when we're going there playing super well, we go in there and most of the time we lose. And if we don't lose, it's always a close game in that rivalry. We blew them out last year, especially. Mm-hmm. So I think they'll be looking for some revenge coming off that game. But going back to their plays, fans, it's gonna be packed. It's a night game. all bad things for Iowa State. Like I said, I hope we squeak out the money line win, but 6.5 is ridiculous.
I don't know why Vegas loves Iowa State so much.
Giving us a lot of respect, which I appreciate as a fan, but we haven't done anything. Like our 3 wins this year, coming against Kansas, UNI, and UNLV. Why do we deserve? I don't know, 6.5 points at Kansas State? I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. As much as I hate to say it, I hope they prove me wrong this week, and I hope they blow Kansas State out. I don't see it though. Moving on to SEC game at night. Ole Miss is at Tennessee. We talked about the Ole Miss Arkansas game earlier with the Arkansas pick. And we've also talked about Tennessee a little bit and how they're not very good. Ole Miss is 2.5-point favorites traveling to Tennessee. Over under 82.
I do not know why Vegas thinks this is going to be a good game. I feel like Ole Miss is very good this year.
Ole Miss is good. This is a classic letdown spot, coming off a huge win. A lot of points. Hot day. They play down to Tennessee at Rocky Top. I think that's why the spread's like that.
Can we just take Tennessee? Do we just take Tennessee and lock it?
Well, I was gonna pick Ole Miss.
I was gonna take Ole Miss too.
I'm still gonna.
But
take
why
Ole Miss.
is it 2.5? Explain.
That's the question, and that's maybe they put it that low because they want us to think it's a trap.
We're having gambler-itis.
We're literally going like 4 levels deep on Vegas right now.
Yeah. Fuck it. Take Ole Miss.
I love Lane Kiffin.
He's so awesome.
Love Lane Kiffin. Won't pick against him. But
He put up 52 against Arkansas.
Over under 82 points.
That's nice.
That's crazy.
That's nice.
Tennessee has put up some big numbers, and obviously Ole Miss's defense isn't the best because they gave 51 to Arkansas. But I think they kind of shut down Louisville in the Week 1 game. I think they can stop them enough.
Yeah.
To keep that under 82 points, that's a 41-41 game. That's insane.
But I feel like
back-to-back weeks.
maybe, yeah, Louisville's, I'm going to say Louisville's probably a comparable team to Tennessee. Like, Louisville's like not, I think Louisville's not that bad.
Yeah.
But so is like Tennessee. It's like they're not that bad. I don't know. I take the under. Like, taking the under, that's a very, very, very good bet. I see that game, like, you brought up, like, the 42-10. That's what I see. I see the 42-10.
I'm thinking like 40 to 20.
Okay.
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
But, yeah, so I'll take Ole Miss the under on that one.
All right.
Moving on to me and Wulfy's favorite, hands down, part of the day. Pac-12, late at night, Saturday nights, best part of the day. It's just a long day of college football. You sit down, watch the Pac-12 game at night, bet the over, and have fun.
Your hangover's starting to sink in a little bit.
Yeah, you're kind of winding down from the day's activities. So for the Pac-12 slate Saturday, it's going to be Arizona State at Utah. The game is a pick, and the over-under is 50.5. So this is perfect for late-night Pac-12. It's going to be a close game. Love the over. Pac-12 is just like play overs and have fun because I think they hit so much.
You never know what you're going to get. Like,
Right.
like you just watch college football today and you think you figured out college football, and then all of a sudden you see Oregon State, you're like, ooh, Oregon State just ran for 300 yards. Ooh. But no, I really like Arizona State in this pick, though. I think Arizona State has been kind of like been the most like disrespected Pac-12 team all year.
Slid very under the radar. They played teams very well. Utah's had been a down year as where they have been for the last couple.
They've never been good ever since Urban Meyer left. Like they've
had some good years.
They've had some.
They've been in the top 10 before. Like I don't know. They've had some decent years. Like I said, I love the over.
Mm-hmm.
I have Arizona State in my card.
I want to look at Utah's record. Look up Arizona State's schedule real quick, and then
Right,
I'm gonna look up.
We'll do it quick
Because I feel like if it's a straight pick on,
with this pick, I'm almost like tempted to just like say fuck it and take the home team, because they think it's gonna be that close.
is it at?
It's at Utah.
It's at Utah.
Arizona State coming out with a 28-10 win against Stanford.
I mean, Arizona State is ranked 18. I feel like this might be a trap pick. I mean, Utah beat Wisco by 11. They beat USC by 16.
USC kind of sucks.
They lost to San Diego State by
Lost to
2.
BYU.
Lost to BYU by 9. Killed Weber State.
You're taking Utah? I think either way,
Well,
I'm just going to take the opposite side of you.
I mean,
That's my decision.
okay. USC sucks. They look terrible against Oregon
USC
State.
does suck.
Not a good team.
Oregon State's awesome. Go Beavs. My favorite team.
Washington State's okay. San Diego State's actually a pretty good non-Power 5 team.
I think I'm going to take Arizona. I'm going to stick with my initial gut. I'm going Arizona State in the over. What's your official pick? 3.
Arizona State. God damn it! I don't want to take I didn't want to take the same pick as you, but I'm going with my initial gut. Like Arizona State has been flying under the radar. Like they're a well-coached team too.
Yeah.
You know, and I think I mean Herm Edwards is. I literally ask you every single week because I'm trying to figure out Arizona State. I'm like, yeah, what do you think of Herm Edwards? But I think Arizona State. I mean. There's UCLA, Arizona State, Oregon, Stanford. Those are probably the 4 best. Oregon.
Go Beavs.
Maybe. We'll wait and see. I like Oregon State a lot because they just run. They give everybody the ball. Who wants it?
3 different running backs, and they seriously run about 10 to 15 end arounds a game to the wide receiver.
It's awesome.
It's a great, fun team to watch.
Right.
Very fun team to watch. Pac-12 is just a fun conference to watch in general.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you guys check out Pac-12 After Dark. You will not regret it. Moving on to our cards. I will go with mine first. I feel like I went a little bit overboard on picks this week, but
34.
I think 34 is the official count. After last week and not picking at all and watching those games Saturday,
I took 20.
I was like, I really wish I would have made a card this week because I think I would have done good because a lot of the things I was thinking happened. I feel like I'm zoned in on college football right now. And we're figuring things out. I think we're figuring things out.
Yeah.
So we'll go right to my card. Got Cuse plus 13.5 versus Clemson. Cuse Clemson under 44.5. Oregon minus 13.5 versus Cal. I don't think Cal lost last couple of weeks. Kind of on a downward spiral.
Mm-hmm.
Oregon, I think, is better than they looked against. They lose to Stanford. Is their loss?
Yes.
I think they're actually a good team. They just lost their running back for the year, though, C.J. Verdell, very good player.
Mm-hmm.
I think they have enough with Anthony Brown at quarterback. They're going to take care of Cal at home. Got Arkansas minus 4.5. Michigan State minus 4.5. Oklahoma State plus 5. Got Rutgers minus 2 at Northwestern. Northwestern, even though it's at Northwestern has no home field advantage whatsoever. Their fans really don't show up to games. It's kind of sad to watch.
Yeah.
And they lost to Duke. They lost to Duke football.
I honestly expected more out of Pat Fitzgerald.
It's tough. They had a really good team last year and graduated most of those players.
Mm-hmm.
So it's tough to rebuild, especially at a school like Northwestern where you don't get the
things move slower.
Yes, absolutely. Got Mizzou plus 9 versus Texas A&M. Texas A&M coming off that huge win against Alabama.
I love Texas A&M.
I love Mizzou plus 9 because Texas A&M coming off a huge win at home, night game, a lot of energy, it's a trap game for them. I don't think Mizzou wins, but I think
Kentucky beat Mizzou by 7.
Right, and Kentucky's a top 10 team, so.
Yeah, I feel like are they whatever. I don't know.
They are right now. They are.
Yeah.
UCF Cincinnati. I like the under 57.5. I think Cincinnati dominates UCF and keeps them under 10 points, 20 points. I got Virginia minus 10.5 versus Duke. Virginia has a high-scoring offense. Duke sucks. Simple as that. Ball State minus 1 at Eastern Michigan. Little action for you.
I'm so happy you took this.
I actually really love Ball State in this pick. I'm not going to get into it too much, but they've had a couple really good wins the last couple of weeks. They seem to be one of the more dominant teams in the MAC. Eastern Michigan's really bad.
Mm-hmm.
I love these small conference games like this because Vegas pays attention to the Power 5 games so much. They kind of let the other ones kind of slip, and not looking at that as hard. You can find a lot of value down there.
Mhm.
I have Arizona, Colorado over 46.5. It's a Pac-12 game over, like we talked about. BYU, Baylor, I have the under 50.5. Kent State +7 at Western Michigan. Western Michigan just had a loss by like 24. I was previously high in West Michigan, but they've been kind of struggling. Kent State's been playing. Kent State's been playing teams very well. Kent State played Iowa pretty close. It was one of their closer games, so I like that a lot. +7. Georgia -23 versus Kentucky. Coming off of a loss to Florida State, I'm staying with North Carolina. North Carolina -7 versus Miami. I will never be off North Carolina. I don't know why. I just expect for this team to turn it on.
You have an addiction.
I have an addiction to
every time we record every week, I'm telling you, like, hey. I picked UNC this week, and I still feel like I have this moral obligation to be like, hey, dude, take it easy.
I just don't want Miami at all. I think Manny Diaz is on his way out. I think Mac Brown and Sam Howell figured it out.
Mm-hmm.
They should not be losing to Florida State, and they know that. Our tough week of practice. They come out at home, take care of home field advantage at Chapel Hill. Give me North Carolina. I already talked about Iowa. That's my lock. 11.5 versus Purdue at home. I have Old Dominion +12.5 versus Western Kentucky.
Love that pick. Old Dominion playing really good football.
Old Dominion is keeping every game close. 12.5 at home. Worth a pick for my estimates. Got Alabama -17 to bounce back at Mississippi State. I just think this is a bounce back spot. It's simple as that. Mississippi State's defense is just god awful under Mike Leach. And it puts up 50 points on them and holds them to 10. Utah State -7 at UNLV. UNLV is trash. Utah State is always like a very well coached team. Gary Patterson, is that his name?
Yep.
Yeah. Utah State -7. Kansas State +6.5 versus Iowa State plus the under at 50.5. I have NC State -3 at Boston College, one of my favorite teams this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're on the up and up as a program. Boston College has been awful.
I didn't have that on my card.
Ole Miss -2.5 at Tennessee plus the under 82. TCU +13.5 Oklahoma. We didn't talk about this one, but Oklahoma. What do you think about them last week? Bringing in the new quarterback.
I know I talked about it a little bit before, but I feel like this is just where they're finding themselves. I feel like they kind of figured out Spencer Rattler wasn't the guy, and Caleb Williams, unbelievable.
I'm going to pump the brakes on it because I don't think Texas's defense is good at all.
Mm-hmm. They aren't.
And also TCU's been playing very well the last 3 weeks. They're one of those teams that
did lose to SMU
about 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
They killed Texas Tech last week, shut down their offense, and scored bundles of points against them.
Good team.
I think TCU keeps it close, +13.5 at Oklahoma. Got Army +14 at Wisconsin. I love Army in almost every game just because they play really good defense. If teams aren't used to preparing for the triple option, so
I took Army too as well.
I think Army might even get a lead in the first half, and then Wisconsin figures it out at halftime and ends up beating them. But I think they cover 14 easily. I got Boise State in a bounce back against Air Force -4 at home, blue turf at night. Forget about it. Arizona State pick 'em at Utah. Got Arizona State, and then I also picked the over, which we talked about. And I was thinking about making this my lock, but Nevada -14 at home versus Hawaii. We've been talking about this Hawaii team all year. I do the same thing every week. If they're at home, they're going to cover. If they're on the road, they don't cover.
Yep.
That traveling factor is such a huge thing with Hawaii that I don't. Nevada's actually a really good team. They score a lot of points. I think they cover 14 at home at night pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
That's my card. A lot of picks this week. Super excited about it.
All right.
What do you got?
So I got Navy versus Memphis at 7.5. Taking Memphis. I actually really like Memphis this year. Didn't they beat Auburn? They beat an SEC school.
I'll research it.
But no, I like Memphis a lot here to cover at 7.5. Not super high on Navy. I don't know. What was the score of that game?
Yeah, not beat an SEC school this year.
Whatever. Still riding with Memphis. Or was it Mississippi State?
Mississippi State.
Yeah, Mississippi State. Yeah. Now I just remembered. Clemson versus Cuse. Talked about this one earlier. Cuse, sexy pick. Oregon versus Cal. I know you talked about Cal being on a downward spiral. I know they had high expectations going into this year. I think they're actually going to cover this one. I'm not super high on Oregon. I think that Ohio State wins just a fluke. I think that's just a fluke game.
Yeah.
And I think that's when every time someone thinks of Oregon this year, I feel like they're just going to immediately think about them beating Ohio State. But the first thing that I think of is the fact that they lost to Stanford, and I'm not that high on Stanford. I think Stanford is actually one of the more middle of the pack.
Well, their win total coming into the year was 4.
Right.
Which was one of my preseason win total locks on the over, because I don't think Stanford's ever a 4-win team.
Right.
But they're not like an 8 or 9 win team. They're like a 6 win team.
David Shaw will at least get them 6. A conservative 6 wins.
Exactly. I could not believe when I saw 4 as their over under. That is ridiculous.
So it does make sense that they would have a Stanford, a fluke game, and beat Oregon.
Right.
But moving on to Texas A&M versus Missouri at 9. I really, really, really like Texas A&M. That win against Bama was just unbelievable. And I know they even did it with their backup quarterback. I don't like Mizzou at all. I think Mizzou is terrible. I watched literally the only game I've watched this year from Mizzou is against Kentucky, and I thought both of those teams were terrible. So I didn't really get a strong gauge of either team. I just don't. I have a pretty high opinion of Mizzou this year. So if they cover, they cover. Good for them. But I'm pretty emphatic about Texas A&M on this one. I'm probably just having a little overnight on that Bama game, though. But next one here, Florida versus LSU. I really like Florida. I don't think LSU is that good this year. Florida having a pretty tough loss last week against Kentucky, but 2 weeks ago. I really, 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 really like Florida in this pick. And then Auburn versus Arkansas. I really like Arkansas. Do you have it as 4? I have it as 3.5.
I have 4.5.
Okay, 4.5. So yeah, no, Arkansas, really, really, really good team this year, and Auburn, not so good. Oklahoma State versus Texas. Taking Oklahoma State just because I feel like they're going to be playing with their heads on fire. I know you took Cincy in this UCF Cincy game.
I actually took the under.
Oh, you took the under?
Just the under.
Okay. I actually took UCF in this one just because I don't really think UCF is actually that bad this year. I think they're kind of a snappy team. So when I saw the 20-point spread, I was like, it's a little high for Cincinnati. I do see this being like a 17-point loss. Cincinnati's definitely going to win this one straight up. But Michigan State versus Indy, I have Michigan State at 4.5.
4.5.
Cool. And then I really, really, really like Michigan State this year. I know you do too. Tulsa versus USF at 8.5. I have Tulsa. This is my lock of the week. I don't know how you could
Breaking news.
I don't know how you could look at yourself in the mirror and be like, yeah, I'm going to take UCF this week. There's no way. UCF is so bad, and Tulsa I think is actually a pretty good team this year. If I remember right, I think they played Ohio State
They played
Oklahoma State.
Played them really close.
Yep. And I know Big 12 not playing in non-power price schools doesn't really work out for them ever. But I love Tulsa. Nebraska versus Soda at 2.5. Got my insider information from Josh Ealing this week. Told me to take Nebraska. Might be a little biased there because these are just two teams that aren't that good. But I really like Nebraska's defense. I think their defense is really.
What's spread?
2.5. I have 2.5.
At Minnesota or at?
Yes, it's at Minnesota. You don't like it? I'm taking. I like Nebraska this year. I mean, Nebraska is a covering machine. Like, they are a covering machine. And then Virginia versus Duke. Duke sucks. Arizona versus Colorado. I have it at 6. Didn't you just take the over on this one? Okay.
I have 12 overs.
I'm taking Arizona.
It's fine. I didn't have a good read either way, so I just figured.
This is their week. If they want to win a game this season, it's gonna have to be against Colorado. Colorado is a very bad team. They got blown out by Minnesota.
Good.
So
40-7.
if Arizona's gonna win a game this year, I think this is gonna be actually a pretty close game too, believe it or not. But I also have Bowling Green, Northern Illinois at 9.5. I have Northern Illinois on this one. Northern Illinois. I've liked them all year. I know they had a really, really bad loss against Michigan. I was kind of turned away from them for a while, but I'm back on. Michigan's good. Bad loss. Just throw it out. Bury the ball. Miami versus UNC. Both of these teams suck. I'm taking UNC. Iowa versus Purdue. I'm taking Iowa. They're just a big, sexy team that just loves to push people around and just force turnovers. I would be really after we're done recording, I would be really interested to see what their turnover differential is at right now, because Petrus does not turn the ball over, and they force a lot of turnovers. Also, Purdue, terrible team. Probably outside of Northwestern, I would probably say the worst team in the Big 12, or excuse me, the Big 10. And Iowa's.
Wow.
What's that?
So Iowa's number one time carry with 15 turnover margin.
There it is. That's just good football right there. So, Fresno versus Wyoming. I like Fresno a lot. Fresno has been really, really good this year. Had a big win against UCLA, and I think UCLA is actually pretty good this year. Wyoming is a decent team. But I have 3-point spread. I really like Fresno. Bama versus Mississippi State. I know you took Bama because you just think they're going to take care of business. I can totally see that happening. But Mike Leach.
Not getting it done in the SEC. Not an SEC coach. I like him a lot. I don't think he works in the SEC.
He needs time.
He got hired the same year as Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin's.
I know. He doesn't have a guys. He doesn't have guys. He doesn't have his quarterback yet. Once Mike Leach finds his quarterback that he can roll with, Mississippi State will be very, very good. But Ole Miss versus Tennessee. Ole Miss. Tennessee sucks. TCU versus Oklahoma. I really, really like Oklahoma. I know you like TCU playing really good these past couple weeks, but I think Oklahoma finding Caleb Williams to be their starting quarterback. Did you hear about the story about how they figured it out? A kid in their student newspaper went up 8 floors, the highest building in Oklahoma, took binoculars, and figured out that Caleb Williams was taking the first team. Yep. So I really like Oklahoma, especially because they're starting Caleb Williams. Iowa State versus Kansas State. I originally had Iowa State, but I'm going back on my word and taking Kansas State. I don't have too many night games picked. Not on my list because I probably just got tired when I was making this list. I probably just made too many. But I will take Arizona State in the versus Utah for the pick'em. I do like that of how this is a straight pick'em game. I did not know that. I thought it was at a 1-point spread. And then Army versus Wisconsin. Army unstoppable. Just feed me the fullback dives. Feed me the fullback dives. And then there's another late night game that I wanted to talk about. Oh yeah, the Nevada Hawaii game. I can't believe I forgot about that one. As soon as you brought it up on your pick'ems, I was like, yeah, take Nevada. Good pick. So
that's your card.
That is my card.
All right, so we'll wrap up the show. Just want to say quick shout out to Brooklyn Nets, James Harden. I will be doing an NBA preview show soon. Season starts on Tuesday. Probably release it on Monday. So make sure you look out for that. Check out my NFL show. It's going to be coming out Friday with Ronan. And thanks for watching.